this for like just the live stream stuff, but I want to make a shorter video just for this next segment here. So let's go here. Okay, thank you, and welcome to the podcast episode. You missed the first two strings; those were the live gameplay and current events. We're on the third section, my final thoughts, and I'm going to queue up a mission in the Andromeda sector. Right now, it's slim pickings, but we're gonna set a trivial mission. And complete. Oh, and chit chat a little bit about, well, apparently the head of the company, Pilstead, didn't ask me anything on the other day on Reddit, and I share my thoughts about the game all the time, but like, the best way for me to put it is my original background is comic books. You know, I was a Marvel Comics, DC Comics reader, and I love reading letters to the editor, but I honestly didn't like the concept of having any effect on the story, because, you know, my job is to eat the delicious hamburgers, not to make them, you know. So, like, I have never really worried too much about not knowing how the bread gets baked or whatever. But you do pick up a few things here or there. And like, there is a lot of conversation to be had about this particular game that I'm thinking about maybe organizing my thoughts enough for a voiceover and just doing a video. So I'll do my best here to sort of paraphrase the question that was posed and like give a quick take on it. Essentially, the argument was that the game at low difficulties is boring, and farming for super credits is therefore boring unless you do certain things. Now, as I sit here and farm for super credits while I watch the news, it's not like I can say for certain that's not that's not true. However, I don't consider the game to be boring at low difficulties. I feel like it's a different kind of game. And honestly, the truth to me is the game is not necessarily difficult as it is varying degrees of sweaty. The challenge is the challenge, and then you can increase the level of challenge by simply increasing the number of enemies on screen, which is a perfect, oh yeah, I forgot what I was doing for a second. It's a perfectly fine way to set, you know, different levels of difficulty. But I think they forget something about, like, why super credits are dispersed the way they are. Oh! Freedom and you know what? I wish I could have taken off my headphones, but that should make me talk louder by default, because I can't. It's like anyway. So the way this game is set up to me, and please, like, if you watch this on YouTube, and correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but the maps are procedurally generated. So there was a YouTube video at one point that explained a way to exploit that procedural generation and get basically unlimited super credits. And I don't know if Arrowhead like sealed that little leak, but essentially when you are heading down to the planet in your hell pod, the level itself is being put together. Before that, there isn't anything. You know, like that's kind of how the game is unique and fresh each time. Every single thing you see is put on the map as you're dropping into the mission. So no two missions are the same. You know, you have like base installations that are a generated set piece that is designed to be the exact same piece of architecture, you know, every single time it's put down, but it's still like put down randomly on the map, you know, and like at different difficulty levels, there's a different number. There's a different number of items that can possibly be like put in the hopper to be included in a mission. So playing at difficulty level 3, when it's going through the list of things to put on the map, some of the higher difficulty level enemies are just barred from it. And then there's an issue, a matter of the number of things or whatnot. But it's all random in a certain grouping. The higher the difficulty, the more things in the hopper that can possibly be put on the map, right? So that system is designed to create variety and to address the repetitive nature of the game. By default, you have an increased opportunity for super credits only because at lower difficulties, the number of items in the hopper is greatly reduced. So every one of those places on the map where they could put an item for you to pick up, be it a resource, requisition slips, whatever, what have you, you just have less options at lower difficulties. So, because there's no super credits, there's no rare items, there's no, you know, it's like just less stuff, right? So that is a default thing. That's not a design thing. They weren't sitting there going, we got to make sure that there's more super credits at lower levels. That just kind of happened by happenstance. Now, the one thing I've noticed they've done in order to kind of counterbalance that is there's a ton of weapons on the map now in those places where you could have had super credits drop or requisition slips or samples. Now you can pick up, I've noticed a way more, what are they called? Spartan guns, whatever, the ones, the little machine guns, the light armor. Like there's a bunch more of those weapons, those electric guns, and you name it. They just add, I think they added more to create more options in the hopper so that there's less super credits available at lower levels. And that's one way to address it. But to me, it's like you're trying to make one group who wants more opportunities in their play style have a higher sense of fairness, but not really addressing the difficulty at obtaining super credits. Like, in other words, in order to fix their problem, you made it harder for me at lower levels to get super credits. And I'm like, that's not really a fix. Now, also, there's a philosophical difference, too. Like, I think we should kind of be honest about the state the game is in and like what the game is. It's a paradox maybe. It's the best game I've ever played. But it's 2026 and the state of things is this isn't really a game like that. It's not complete. Live service sort of saved this whole concept. But if it wasn't for live service, I don't think we'd be playing Helldivers 2. I think it would have died on the vine as they ran out of money, and then also the engine they were running on stopped being supported. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Tencent came in and had an infusion of cash. We see the entire live service sort of gambit by Sony, where they greenlit like 50 million live service games, all go to shit because like this is the only one standing, and they are on here like talking directly to fans, making what feels to me like some empty promises, because while they're saying all this stuff, there's still like bugs from the first beginning of the game that they can't fix. It's like one of the things they keep saying is we gotta turn a profit, and so the live service function of the game is selling war bonds. If you make grinding for super credits part of what you consider the most fun thing to do, you just sort of hamstrung their ability to turn a profit, because now you're getting super credits at a high rate, and so the game is sort of paying for itself. And that's not what the super credit situation is designed to do. It's designed to kind of be an incentive, to not feel like you're being nickeled and dimed to death. But you're telling me you wanna farm for super credits on level 10 missions where you're already gonna play for hours and hours and hours, and now and in those 3 or 4 hours or whatever time you're putting up, you're gonna earn like $40 worth of war bonds? Like, they're gonna stop doing war bonds. Like, it's a sweet spot to where it doesn't cost them money and they can actually like get what they want out of it. And I don't think making it easier to get war bonds or credits at a higher difficulty level gets you there. I think it makes it even less likely that model is taken on by other developers. Like, a lot of the stuff that Arrowhead does to make up for the fact that Sony has them by the short and curlies and they can't let go of this wolf now, is that they created a model that other developers can follow. But if you turn the super credit thing upside down, and now Shams is on Twitter explaining why they have to get rid of the whole thing altogether because suddenly they stop making money, because all of a sudden, because the game isn't hard like that. If you told me right now I can unlock a war bond in a few hours by putting it on level 10 and jumping into a 4-man match, I would do it, because the game isn't hard like that. It's just sweaty, and I don't want to play with that level of frustration. But the outcome is the same. The enemies die the same. I may have to make a few choices different on the loadout I take, but ultimately none of that turns into like a rewarding experience. It's just forcing me to do this meta build frustration fest in order to save a couple of bucks. I would rather have the game be on what you would call easy mode to do that, as opposed to like the sweatiest, because if you want to see people stop playing, make them put like the free cash behind the sweat. I just think long term it's antithetical to what you ultimately want the whole game to be. I think that also you're asking them on a design level to kind of rework how the random generation of the maps works too. And it's like, we're gonna learn eventually that every time they tinker with something, they break some shit. And because the people who made the engine like quit forever and don't support it anymore, that's why it takes so long to fix stuff. Like the Stingray engine is still the Stingray engine. They're still trying to hire people, developers and stuff to do what? You know what I mean? Like, I think that honestly, at the end of the day, it may not have been a single player game, but there was at some point an idea where there was more of a single player element, and this game had a bit more containment, because the first game conceptually just does different stuff, and especially as far as the lore and the story. And this hard pivot, plus what we know about like the history of the game and its development, I hate to be like still skeptical, but I can't help it. I'm a little skeptical of like the way they've explained it and the way they're doing it. And I just don't think that flipping the super credits thing upside down fixes anything. I think that him admitting that the low difficulty is quote unquote boring is extremely telling, because if the guy who conceived of the game thinks that because this is the core gameplay, you know, and if the core gameplay is boring, then just be honest, you think the game is boring, and that's okay, you know. But like, you're also talking about all kinds of performance problems. So the more enemies on screen, the harder the game has to work. We're talking about coming out of hard locking issues, people complaining about having their hard drives freeze up and all this kind of stuff. And so now you want to go put the super credits behind level 10 difficulties so people can start burning their hard drives to death trying to play this game and earn some like money with a real world value. I think it's safer to, I mean, this imperfect system, I don't think it's necessarily improved by flipping it upside down, you know, unless you were going to randomize the types of weapons and other support stratagems that are dropped, you know, maybe throw a few quasar cannons in the hopper, you know, and then also you can update the mission types. Like, I love the fact that on a trivial mission that was the mission. That was dope. I mean, I know I'm chit-chatting and talking, I'm distracted, but that's cool that if someone is just starting out playing the game, how's it going, first time chatter? Nothing much. That's cool that if this is someone's first time playing the game, dropping in for the first time, they get to do a pretty like involved mission. They're not just raising a flag. Like, I appreciate that. And I would not mind at all seeing a higher mix of just mission types, because the mission type itself adds to the I'm losing the word, like adds to the variety. And then the difficulty is still the same because you're not dropping factory striders. But you can do that one where you have to basically destroy the installation and it's firing those heavy lasers down. You could do that on 3. You know, it's still going to be a challenge that is not going to be overwhelming for a lower difficulty player, because those installations are still, you know, you're dealing with them the same way. You're just not being harassed by a bunch of extra enemies and stuff. I wish they would open up the hopper a little bit so that you could see all kinds of missions at different difficulty levels. And I don't necessarily mind them having more chances at super credits to higher difficulty levels. I just don't want them to address it by making it difficult to get super credits at lower difficulty levels. You know, I don't think they should raise it for. I don't think they should raise it for lower levels either. To me, as someone who plays primarily between 3 and 6 difficulty, and to have 95 to 96% of the game unlocked and have only maybe bought like 2 war bonds, I am not mad at the clip of like super credits. Plus, like, if I really want to like grind for super credits, I can do that shit. You know, it's always right there. You know, it's not perfect, but I don't think messing with the hopper that way gets you any benefits. All right. I don't know how long. Oh, my favorite stratagem is my ballistic shield. Like, I have spent more real world money on my custom ballistic shield than anything in the actual game. And the thing is, I wish that Arrowhead, if they're concerned about making money, cosmetics and individuality is where the money is. I don't want to pay for any sort of advantage over the game's set difficulty. I feel like one of the perfections of the game is I can grab a loadout that makes whatever difficulty I put it to just right. So I can go into a trivial mission and take some crap, and it's a little more hard that way, and it's fine. Like you can adjust it based on your loadout. So let me bedazzle my shit a little bit, and I will pay you for the individuality. If you want to talk about like super credits and making money and war bonds, I think they should have way more drip and way more drip in the cash store that doesn't change your it doesn't give you a booster or whatever. It's just cosmetic. I think that they would make bank. They would make bank if they would just open the wardrobe and cross, especially like if you look at Nexus mods and all the different weapon skins, they are leaving money on the table trying to focus on war bonds and this weird progression, because there is no progression. There's no progression. Like it's a stalling process until they figure something out. Every single time something big happens, it happens on Twitter or Discord, or it's something on the galaxy map that goes from being a circle to a different circle. There's no cinematics. Even now with the cyborgs, we didn't get an actual like enemy. I remember playing Command and Conquer, and the first like 3 minutes of the game is a video with like actual story, and then it's the crappy game you played for hours and hours and hours. They don't even give us that. Like, I think we are owed some sort of story element, and I think that's what people were asking for in that AMA, and he kind of talked around it because, you know, boom, 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 you know. But let me go ahead and I'm all for what brings people to the game, but I honestly feel like they should be talking about completing certain like internal parts of the game that are weird not to be there going into year 3. But man, thank you for checking this out. I'm trying to cut it short because I have to edit all this, so I'm only going to edit this last part. As you can see on the screen, my stream is trying to raise money for a very important cause, and I'm looking to sort of like build up to where I can actually do that effectively. So have a look at the QR code and share the charity, and I will be back live tomorrow. And I'm not sure if I'm gonna have a YouTube video for every single day, but I might have a YouTube video at the end of the week. So thanks for stopping in, and hope you follow.